President Trump is sending a warning to Russia as he plans a possible military strike in Syria. The president tweeted this morning, quote, "Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming, nice and new and smart. You shouldn't be partners with a gas-killing animal who kills his people and enjoys it." Now, this comes just days after an alleged chemical attack in the city of Douma. Dozens of civilians, including women and children, died. But Russia has warned of, quote, grave repercussions if the U.S. intervenes. Mola Lenghi reports from the White House.
With U.S. warships moving into position for a possible missile strike against Syria, President Trump issued an ominous warning on Twitter this morning. Russia vows to shoot down any and all missiles fired at Syria. Get ready, Russia, because they will be coming, nice and new and smart. You shouldn't be partners with a gas-killing animal who kills his people and enjoys it. A spokesperson for Russia's foreign ministry quickly responded on Facebook, writing, "Smart missiles should be flying towards terrorists and not the legal government that has been fighting international terrorism." The social media back and forth comes as the Trump administration has been consulting with its allies on a possible joint military response to Syria's alleged poison gas attack. Both Russia and Syria deny the attack took place, but more than 40 people died from the suspected chlorine assault that President Trump called barbaric. Syria has invited a team of independent chemical weapons experts to investigate. It's not clear whether that visit may delay any military strike on Syria. Mola Lenghi, CBS News, the White House.
I want to bring in Don Bramer from Washington. He's a former intelligence officer and Iraq War veteran. He's also founder and chairman of the Bramer Group. Don, thanks so much for being with us. When asked about the president's tweet, the Pentagon refused to comment, but in a statement said, quote, "It does not comment on potential future military actions." So do we think that the Pentagon and the White House are on the same page when it comes to military action in Syria?
Tanya, I think you never want to share your military plans with your friends, your allies, or your foes. You know, the element of surprise is what gives you the best results in any military action that you're taking. So the president's known for his tweets and his social media, but I think behind the scenes, he's being briefed. Vice President Pence has been sitting in on these meetings. The president's canceled most of his schedule and his trip. They're working together. It's just, that's the president, the way he communicates, but I think the Pentagon has this in control.
Now, is there a clear strategy, though? If there were to be some military action in Syria, is there a clear strategy behind that? What is the end game?
Well, I would hate to think that we don't have a clear strategy. We've got some great minds at the Pentagon. I think that they have planned for every scenario. Of course, you can't be 100% sure, but the generals that are over there, the analysts, the intelligence professionals that we have here, they've been researching this just like they have for any contingency plan that's out there. I think they've got it under control. You know, we're going to move forward. We're going to join forces with our allies. You know, France, the UK, Israel, they're all coming forward to support us. In the United Nations, we had 12 countries that came to join us in this effort. The only issue is, like we've always seen, Russia interferes just as they have in the last 12 times.
Right. So let's talk about Russia for a moment, because clearly there are fears of spiraling into some sort of military back and forth with Russia here. How great of a risk is that?
Well, there's always that risk, and there's so many unknowns when you deal with, you know, folks like Assad and Putin. But I don't think in the end that, you know, President Putin, he likes his PR game very well. He likes to portray a certain image. So I think in the long run, when you bottom this line, he'll put out a lot of propaganda. He'll be very strong in his words. As you've seen, his social media folks, they're going to be going, you know, tweet for tweet and post for post. But I think he'll do the right thing, and he'll stand by Assad as long as it doesn't come forward and create a risk for him.
Now, we know that last year, the president stood alone in his strike against Syria. But now it appears that Britain and France may be considering action as well. How important do you think it is that there is a joint response in Syria?
You know, a few weeks ago, one of the big things the president came forward was talking about how it was time for other countries to step up and start, paying their part was one of the big things that he spoke of, with NATO early in his presidency. So I think this is a good sign because, the French president was right there very quick to align with the president. And I believe it was yesterday or this morning, the president spoke with Theresa May. Israel's on board. Saudi has come forward to be a part of this. That shows that the world has kind of already come together. They agree that, whatever happens in Syria, because there's a lot of pieces that are moving there, but chemical weapons against your people, whether it's sarin gas or chlorine, that's just wrong. And it shows what kind of person that we're dealing with here. Civil war is one thing. They've been happening for centuries, but to gas and poison your own citizens, that's just a crime.
And now it does also seem to put back on a timeline pulling out of Syria, which is something that President Trump said just last week he would be for. Let's imagine for a moment the U.S. does pull out of Syria. That would reshape who has power in the country. What would it then look like if Russia and Iran were left in charge?
You're right. And a few weeks ago, the president, he was adamant that it was time to pull out and time for other folks to step up and take their role in Syria. But I think if you look at that now, the people who would be sitting at that table would be the Iranians and the Russians. Being that close to Israel and to our other allies in the region, I think that's a table that we just don't want to get up and walk away from.
Right. It comforts our allies if you're just sitting at the table, as you say.
Well, I always use the analogy that around the holidays all the family comes together. As long as the senior grandfather's there, people tend to behave. So let's let Uncle Sam be that senior.
And the siblings can squabble and the cousins can fight. But
you bet.
So who is advising Mr. Trump here, and how could his cabinet impact diplomacy in that region?
Well, from day one of the president and his new cabinet, we've seen how he has kind of relied on generals and military leaders for posts all the way throughout. And I think that's where he has his A game on right here. We've got General Kelly here. We've got Mike Pompeo, who came from the CIA, who also came from House Intelligence. John Bolton just stepped up. There's some great minds there and some great strategic thinkers. So I think he always defers to him. The president in the past has come forward. He's voiced his opinions sometimes. He gets a little flack for it, whether it's via tweet or something else. But it always seems to kind of dwindle down or fizzle, for lack of a better word, when he listens to the generals and the people that he's selected for these posts.
All right. Well, Don Bramer, we thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Tanya.